It's April 15th, 2019, and it's an offside trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's always fun doing these things back to back. So for those of you that carried over from the previous show into the new, thanks for joining us. Excited to have you, and really excited to have our guest tonight all the way from Dallas. Are you actually in Dallas?
I'm Dallas proper, yes.
That's awesome. That's
we
awesome.
have Kenny from the 19th Minute.
Thanks for having me.
Dallas podcast. Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us on a Monday night. I'm sure it's not so easy to square away time, so we appreciate it.
It's the first. I think this is the first one of these segments that we've had to do where we've had to jump a time zone.
I think you're right. Yeah, everything has been East Coast so far.
Things kind of lined up for us, which was great. So thanks for taking some time out of your night tonight to talk to us. And an ongoing effort that we've had. I feel like so much of the conversation gets driven by Twitter, and unfortunately it's all about the things that make us different rather than we have in common. And so it's been an effort by us to try to actually talk to people, other content providers for different teams around the league, to kind of build some awareness and familiarity with other fan bases, other cultures, and stuff like that. So it's always great to have a fellow podcaster and a fellow Podomatic user, as we found out. So. So going into the match this weekend on the road here in Atlanta against Atlanta United, what are some of your thoughts coming off of this past weekend's result for FC Dallas, and maybe what you're expecting to see this weekend?
Do you guys feel bad right now kicking Portland while they were down?
I mean, that was probably handball. I'm just gonna say that. I mean, I'm not one of those homer that takes up for the team no matter what. That's probably handball. No, I don't think anybody feels sympathy for Portland at all, unless you're in Portland. This week, we've had difficulties being on the road, so I expect us to have something similar. We lost to Columbus. We lost a tough one at Philly. We're a really young team, first-year head coach, inconsistent team, if you will. As you can see, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, typically. So I figure it's going to be pretty tough. I know you guys haven't had the easiest road for yourselves to start the season, but it's going to be tough for us. We're just, like I said, just young and inconsistent team this year.
So coming with a new manager, a new coach, what have been some of the hurdles, in your opinion, for this Dallas lineup? Obviously, I think some of the squad plays a role in that, like you said, with a youth squad. But have you noticed any drastic changes in the management or the structure and what the team's been doing from years past? Because FC Dallas had a lot of success last year for the better part of the season. Obviously, everybody wants to win the cup at the end of it, but what have you seen some of the changes and transitions that have taken place early on this season from last?
I think the biggest difference is in years past, you've seen Oscar Pareja, who was the previous coach, tend to kind of protect these young players. We hear, we've played a lot of young players, but they haven't really played the minutes, the tough minutes, as when it gets tough at the end of the season. It's a clear difference this year that Luchi Gonzalez is he's going to throw those kids at the deep end of the pool and see how they do. Pretty good results so far. I mean, we got a bunch of 17-year-olds out there, playing big minutes. So that's the biggest thing. Another big thing is, like I said, this is Luchi's first time coaching professionals. I think he learned against the Union. The Union had scored to tie the game in the 85th minute, and Luchi did not put in our third center back to save that point. Philly ended up getting the win. This past game, Brisson, the center back in question, actually makes his appearance at the end of the game. We do preserve the point. So I think there's some maturation in him as a coach. I think it's different. I think there are a lot of similarities between the two. But the main thing is, like I said, those kids are going to get every opportunity to play as many minutes as possible, significant minutes.
Yeah, from your guys' side, I mean, you're talking about a kind of a storied factory of young talent. I mean, just you look at one of the brightest stars probably in the U.S. men's national team setup now, and Weston McKennie, who came from the Dallas system, and then you look at Walker Zimmerman, Kellen Acosta, right? I mean, and not just that. I mean, you guys have other guys coming through right now, but you guys had quite a bit of turnover in names that, you know, some of us who watch on a weekly basis, you know, a little bit here and there, watching or playing fantasy, you see guys like Maxi Arruti, who you're used to seeing week in, week out on the score sheet for Dallas. You're looking at Roland Lamah, who gets picked up in the expansion draft. You guys don't protect him right. So, and not just that, Kellen Acosta, the aforementioned Kellen Acosta, has gone now too, and a guy who for the longest time seemed to be kind of the anchor or the linchpin to build a team around, and he's gone. And who is that now? Is it Pomykal? Am I saying that right?
Pomykal.
He definitely seems to be the brightest spot, even though you guys, it seems like you guys are still kind of searching for an identity on offense, and maybe that's an outsider looking in and seeing that Ziegler is right now the leading scorer on the team.
Well, I mean, typically our leading scorer has always had maybe 10 goals a season anyway. It's always been goal scoring by committee. You talked about some names that have moved on: Mauro Diaz, Maxi Urruti, players like that. It was always an odd fit with those two because Maxi was never really a pure number 9. He was always better in a 2-striker system. But Mauro was a number 10, so you kind of had to, you know, shove those guys together. So it was, like I said, it was just an odd fit. Kellen needed the change. It was just one of those things that he just needed to change his scenery to really get back to where he needed to be. Paxton's, you're probably right. Paxton's probably the star player, if you will, but it's really Lucci's team. He's kind of the star right now. This is what he is kind of creating. But like I said, Paxton, Jesus, another one, bunch of young players. I mean, we still have a bunch of veterans that are still really solid, like a Mikey Barrios, always dangerous on the wing. Even Reggie Cannon, when we lose track that he's only still 2021. So it feels like he's been in there a few years now. So yeah, I mean, it's as with FC Dallas, not typically big spenders. The team is kind of the star more than having a star on the team.
That's kind of a good place to be in too, especially historically. FC Dallas has been a pretty solid team. As Kevin was saying, last year was the second half of the season kind of saw that drop off, but is it the Texas Sun that just kind of beats down on you right in the middle of the season?
I think for a while there, FC Dallas kind of got away, and they actually spent pretty good money. I mean, for Dallas, you know, historically they were lowest payroll in the league. The past few years, they've actually been kind of middle of the pack. You talk about Roland Lamah, Maxi Urruti, players like that, and I think they just, you know, Oscar decided it was time to move on. You know, you talk about dropping off at the second half of the season. That's not the first time that it happened. That happened like 2 or 3 seasons in a row. So I think it was just like a fundamental choice to let what we've been doing the past couple of years is not winning us MLS Cup. Let's do something a little bit different, but kind of at our roots by turning to a lot of youth. And I say a lot of youth, once again, there's a lot of, you know, you got Santiago Mosquera, you've got Pablo Ranguiz. I actually think it's probably one of our deepest teams in quite a few years. I think there's a lot of options for Lucci to go week by week. If something isn't working, he's got options to change it up.
So with that said, I mean, the West looks really deep right now. If you take a look at the 2 LA teams, Seattle is back to their best. Your neighbors in Houston are looking, you know, their normal selves. Where do you see Dallas fitting in, not just right now, but, you know, throughout the season? Is this, I mean, you mentioned it kind of seems like you're in between thoughts of this being a transition year, but also maybe thinking whenever you're talking about the depth being better than in years past, then do you feel like this is a playoff team?
I feel like it's a borderline playoff team. I mean, shoot, 7 teams in each conference getting the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So, you know, it kind of reminds me of RSL last year. You know, kind of a younger team, kind of snuck in at the end. I kind of see us right there. If we didn't make the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't call it a setback. But I could see us sneaking in and everything like that. And I know you talk about teams in the West, but I mean, I'd probably say LAFC is a pretty scary team, but I mean, out there, I mean, Seattle's had a good start, but I mean, I don't think the MLS Western Conference really reloaded this season as they have in years past. So I don't think it's as dangerous a conference as it's been.
Yeah. So 2 of the losses that Dallas has had, or I guess the only 2 that they've had so far this season, were both on the road against Philly and Columbus. Obviously on the road this weekend against Atlanta United, coming off of a win against admittedly sort of a downtrodden Portland team, now losing 5 straight this season off of a questionable call. Who do you think out of those youth players that you've mentioned are really, for those that maybe aren't familiar for Dallas, like ourselves, sometimes we kind of live in a vacuum and it's tough to watch too much of the league play around for other teams and other squads. And even more so whenever it's a youth team where there's a lot of rotation in the lineup or the squad with faces and players that we maybe aren't as familiar with. Who do you think are the players to watch that put Dallas in the best position to win this weekend that we need to really be looking out for? And who do you think is maybe the biggest liability for Dallas on the road against Atlanta?
I think the biggest strength is going to come down our right side, because when I see Breck Shea starting at left back, I think of Mikey and Reggie kind of dominating that right wing. That's kind of our strength. That's kind of our go-to. And like I said, when I see, the old FCD boy himself with the, the dreads and the, genie pants or whatever.
You got to believe, man. You got to believe.
I was going to say, you don't miss him at this point. That was the Breck Shea I fell in love with, was the FC Dallas Stoke City Breck Shea. He was one of my favorite players in MLS for sure.
And Stoke City they just
ruined him. Tony Pulis ruined that man, and I will never forgive him for
Actually, what really ruined him was that Olympics when they didn't qualify out in Nashville. He was never really the same player out of that. When I think Canada qualified over the U.S. or something, I was there for one game, but I think that's what really ruined. But I like that right side. I like that matchup there, especially if Breck's going to be there at left back. One of the scary things I see is probably Edwin Cerrillo. Like I said, young 17-year-old as our number 6 right now, and he's played 90 minutes the past 2 games. So he's been really good, but once again, he's 17. And our goalkeeper sometimes, he's one of those goalkeepers that may not be consistent all the time, but he can pull out an amazing save that, to really stop a hell of a shot. So those would probably be my 2 worries there, be our number 6 and tend to be inconsistent goalkeeper.
Right on. So one of the things, man, it's tough to believe the last time we played you guys was after that heartbreaking loss from the come behind win last July 4th.
Which we touched on. We won't have to worry about it because Miles Robinson starts now, and he's awesome, and he's not going to be coming off the bench.
He's a grown-ass man now. Y'all better get ready.
He's not going to be a third center back. He is the center back. So
but even though we're playing in Atlanta, that game obviously was on the road against Dallas. What are some of the tried and true traditions of the Dallas faithful leading up to match day for the next time that we travel out there? Maybe some of the things that you've experienced over the years that you really like to make sure that people get a taste of or go do whenever they may be traveling out to Dallas to watch a game, whether it's Atlanta United supporters or not.
Oh yeah, anybody. They have a really good tailgate scene before games. El Matador and the Dallas Beer Guardians do a good tailgate. They cook up a lot of food. They're always welcoming. They're always inviting other supporters to come out. That's one thing I've noticed over in MLS is that I've traveled around to a bunch of games, and Dallas, just like many other places I've been, very welcoming supporters. Even if you're rooting for the other team, hey, come on, have a beer, eat a hot dog or something like that. So the Dallas supporters do that really well, and it's also a big thing to scarf the Lamar Hunt statue beforehand too. They make a big ceremony out of that. They recently just had Cowboys center Travis Frederick do that. They do that before games, but it's a lot of fun. That area is kind of building up. With Frisco it was a nothing city for such a long time, but it's really building up to be a bunch of bars and restaurants and food areas and whatnot. So it's
office parks out
yes.
the wazoo, man.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I've been there for work. We have some clients. My day job, we have clients in Frisco. It's there in Plano. Yeah. Anyway,
but it's getting there. It's getting there. It's like I said, it's the development up there is getting a lot better. As far as memories, man, I remember like being out for tailgates and trying to hold tents down while it was hailing on me and just like all kinds of stuff like that. I remember one of the most fun tailgates we ever had was the Kansas City supporters came down. They had like so many buses. I think they brought like 800 people.
Oh my God.
And they just brought out, tons of Boulevard beer and, everybody's just beer sharing and stuff like that. And
that's awesome.
I remember getting really drunk and I took a selfie in a porta potty for some reason. Just, I don't know. It was
always a bad decision.
I'm glad it was the front camera.
Yeah. It was the front camera. But yeah, that was a really, really good time. And yeah, like I said, the supporters with FC Dallas, it's kind of been a progression. It seems to get better every year. They do better with tifos now. The team for a long time, there was no pulley system or anything like that. They didn't seem interested in doing that. That's something they do now, especially for big games, is to make sure to have tifo and use the pulley system and everything like that. But in Frisco, it gets a little windy, so sometimes tifos don't do well with that. But yeah. It's a good time.
So when you're not pulling for FC Dallas, who's your other go-to team? It doesn't have to be MLS per se, or even soccer, but we all like to find out what other teams we're pulling for. Whenever you're not watching Dallas play, who else are you watching?
Well, I will say I do like watching Atlanta United. I did grow up for a couple of years. I lived in North Atlanta, so I do. It does bring just a tear to my eye to see so many people watching soccer in the South. It just and when I moved away from Atlanta, I was living in Alabama, and it's not like that's a soccer hotbed either. So
God, that might be the last expansion.
Yeah.
I spent 4 years in Alabama as a kid. Kevin spends a fair bit of time in Alabama now.
Yeah. So it's it was one of those things is that I was living actually in Memphis at the time, and I had just gotten my first IT job, and I didn't like living in Memphis, and I decided, I really wanted to move to a city that had a soccer scene. And it was really important for me to pick the team closest to me geographically. I don't know why. That was important to me. And obviously Atlanta wasn't in the league at the time. So I didn't move to Atlanta, but Frisco was 20 miles closer to me than Kansas City was. So I came out for the season opener, FC Dallas 2011, just fell in love with the area. And my wife and I just kind of took what little money we had we took our 55-inch TV, put it in a minivan, and we moved our clothes out.
All based
May
on
2012.
I wonder how many of those stories exist for Atlanta United.
How many people have moved to Atlanta based on coming and watching Atlanta United?
Like people that were maybe in Columbus or something.
That's crazy, man. So you guys moved, I'm surely not completely for the team, but it
was a big part of it.
Inspired by the team.
It was a big, I mean, part of it, it's just growing up in a small town with like 3,000 people in Alabama that's just wanting to move to the big city.
Yeah.
Part of it's that. Part of it's I was in IT and, jobs wise, there's not, once again, in that area, not a lot of jobs. So, but FC Dallas having a soccer team played a big part of that. I'm a Man United fan, EPL. That's my team.
Okay.
I wait for the size. You do all the size you want. And I'm a big Mississippi State football fan, college football. I'm a big Mississippi State fan.
Oh, there you go.
Those two things even out. So
okay.
Big fan of Friday Night Lights too. Being in Dallas now.
No, not at all. I really just don't watch. Honestly, which is crazy because back in the day, I used to watch American football all the time. I don't watch it so much. I mean, Saturdays nowadays is just, it's just soccer from 7 a.m. in the morning until like 9 o'clock at night.
It is a grind now going back to college football. I mean, that's always been my big thing, less so professional, but either one, going through 6 months leading up to it in watching MLS or whatever, and knowing that you could get in and out in 2 hours to having 2 hours of just commercials over the span of a game for football is it is a grind to get through a game sometimes. I rarely watch games live anymore because I just can't deal with all the commercials half the time.
Yeah. And soccer games, you can't really make Kroger runs during the middle of.
Yeah, exactly.
Football games, you can.
Yeah,
American football games. Yeah.
And I definitely don't do baseball. And like I said, living in Atlanta until I was like 10, I mean, it was all about the Braves in the early 90s. And I was a huge baseball fan. And now I just, people talk about being soccer being boring. Oh, man, don't even get me started on baseball. And I'm telling you, I was the biggest Braves fan. I had a tomahawk shaved in the side of my head when I was like 9. But no, not anymore.
Maybe you should do that.
Me?
Yeah, railroad spike on the side of your head.
Ooh, I like it. Or a lightning bolt.
Yeah, make it go down into the beard, just from like grow the hair out on the side and go down into the beard. Come on.
That's good. I like that. Maybe my hard part will just be like a golden spike. Like just get them to do a little hill.
You do like a Jabril Cisse, or are you gonna bleach it?
Huh?
Like do a Jabril Cisse. You're gonna bleach it. You're gonna get like a pattern with it and then bleach that part.
No, I'm gonna start wearing a cap over all my hair, and so that I get really tan, so it looks gold, and then all of my actual scalp is still super white, so it stands out.
Kevin, why are you wearing a shower cap or a swimming cap to the tailgate? You'll see in a few weeks.
Give it time.
See me in 2
Playing
weeks.
a long game. Actually, no. What I'm gonna do next weekend is I'm gonna tape 2 stripes on my head so that I'll get the red stripes naturally from getting sunburned, and then I'll just spray the black stripes. So I'll have my 5 stripes, red and black, naturally next weekend.
Oh God. Yeah, we actually have somebody in the live chat, in the trap, as it were, Octavio Mingura, saying he went to the Braves game last night for the first time in 3 years, and my God, I've never been so bored.
Yeah.
Apparently, you just go to baseball games now to eat food.
Well, and that's exactly what Brandon Scott followed up with, which is the Battery, which I don't know how much, with you not following the Braves much, they moved the stadium up to the Smyrna Cobb Galleria area, and as a result, they've built out the whole Battery around it, which is actually pretty great, pretty substantial development around the stadium.
Mixed use, like full game day experience type thing. Same thing we're doing with the Gulch. They're getting rid of our tailgate area and turning that into a mixed use facility, moving us to another spot for tailgating. Do you guys have that? Do you guys have that retail, like shopping / living space / eateries around the stadium?
Yeah, a little bit across the street, a little to the side. So it's not like there's still space, a good bit of space in between. But yeah, I mean, we still have like the bars and everything like that, like the restaurants.
Yeah, I feel like that helps add to the game day experience, give everybody different options.
Do you travel any for any away games or anything like that? I mean, obviously SKC I think is a little closer than Atlanta would be, but
yeah, I typically do. I've always it's funny you say that. I'm actually going to go to Houston in a few weeks.
Oh, right on.
I've never made that trip typically because I don't like, it's a big rivalry game, and I'm honestly not a big guy for a confrontation, and I don't want to see people get into a fight or anything like that. But I got media credentials for that, so I'm gonna go do it that way. But I've been
humble brag. I see you.
Yeah. But I've seen us. I went and seen us play in LA, New York. So I'll typically try to get a trip a year.
Right on.
To go see the team away.
Nice. Well, I think that's just about it, except for one thing, which is the score prediction. What are you thinking coming out of the game this weekend?
Geez. I don't know. Seeing those Barco goals got me kind of worried more than I was.
I think it got all of us excited for the first time this season.
It's probably the first time he's done anything right since, besides dyeing his hair and like telling everybody what he was like trying to hook, get somebody's girl or something.
Oh, you are going to have this Atlanta United Twitter all over you tomorrow. So
hey, that's cool. I'm probably going to say 2-1 Atlanta.
All right.
Just because I don't have much faith in us, at least on the road yet.
Yeah.
And, that's a tough place to play. And yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 Atlanta.
I like it. Anything else from you, Tim?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you so much. Now is the time to get all your plugs in. Where can the people find you at so they can tell you their opinion of Ezequiel Barco in a timely manner leading up to kickoff this weekend?
Please, I'm going to give you my personal Twitter. That's at CoolKenny27.
Is it cool with a K or
no? It's cool with a C. CoolKenny27. It's me when I probably had an extra 50 pounds and I was wearing a medium-sized MLS ball kid shirt.
I like it.
So you can't miss me.
That's great. That's great.
When I was in the supporters section, I wanted a ball kid shirt in the worst way. I didn't care if it fit. I wanted a ball kid shirt. And one day the security guy gave me a medium. But actually at the last, funny story about that, the last game of that season, Breck Shea was hurt. Breck Shea was still with us then. And he presented me with an extra large one.
Very nice.
Yes, that's awesome.
So
Very nice.
I still have that one. So yeah, come find me at CoolKenny27 ball kid shirt guy. If you ever want to know about FC Dallas stuff, at the 19th minute, we're the 19th minute because that was the late great Bobby Ryan, big player within our team. And if you don't know, that's actually why Paxton Pomacall is number 19.
Oh, right on.
We decided as a team that only homegrowns would have that number.
That's really cool.
And he's the first one to have that number as part of that. So yeah, at the 19th minute, come listen to us and we'll talk Ezequiel Barco.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This will go up in just a couple of days. And if you ever make your way down to Atlanta, be sure to hit us up.
I need to. I have family out there. I need to really badly. So
we'll break bread over a Waffle House all-star breakfast or something.
I prefer Huddle House.
Oh. See, I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
I prefer Huddle House.
Huddle House has better food than Waffle House.
It's true.
Right. Both of you get it. All right, man. Thanks for coming on with us. We'll talk to you hopefully sooner rather than later with a trip over to Atlanta. And we really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Pleasure, guys.